Rev Derek here. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok at Rev Derek Terry. Thank you so much, and welcome to A Region in My Mind podcast. I'm doing the video thing on YouTube, and of course the audio thing wherever you listen to your podcasts. For the most part, I think. So I'm just coming off of COVID, having COVID for the first time officially. I do think I had it early in the pandemic, and I'm talking like January 2020 before everything shut down in March. But this is the first time, tested positive eventually because I kept being sick. And I thought, okay, maybe it's allergies, maybe it's a cold because I kept testing negative and then tested positive. And it took me for a loop. Even though I was only sick for a couple days, with the congestion and stuff, I was just tired and icky and my brain was crazy. So, but anyway, welcome to A Region in My Mind. I'm excited. I haven't done this in a while, and I'm excited to do it on YouTube as well as wherever you listen to your podcast. So I'm going to show you some things. If you listen to the podcast, check out the YouTube. You can just kind of fast forward to see some of the visuals. But yeah, I hope this works out. Please, please, please keep in contact with me wherever you follow me on the socials: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok. I'm pretty responsive, so slide in them DMs if you have any questions or any feedback. I wanted to start today. There's a lot going on, a whole lot going on, and so I start with this quote because one, it's from a letter from A Region in My Mind, which is where the name of this podcast came from, which is a James Baldwin article that he published in the New Yorker in 1962, and this quote is literally like the subtitle of the article that was originally published 60 years ago in 1962. And Baldwin wrote, "Whatever white people do not know about Negroes reveals precisely and inextricably what they do not know about themselves." And it amazes me that 60 years later, white people still don't know a lot about black people. We have to know in order to navigate the culture and in order to navigate the systems, because every system in this country is controlled by white people. Even when there was a black president, every system, the government, the majority of people are white. Every system in this country is controlled by white people. Did I say black? It's late. I'm recording this like 2 a.m., but I'm a night owl. Anyway, so everything is white. The banks controlled mostly by white people. Schools controlled mostly by white people. Everything. The systems of law enforcement, everything controlled by white people. And so just for our survival, we have to learn whiteness and have to learn how to navigate it. And if there's a white culture, we have to do that. Whereas white people oftentimes don't know very much about black people. And then those things that they do know, they kind of pick up on and they get excited about and they appropriate. But yeah. So thought that was pretty dope. And it also leads me into something that may be an unpopular opinion, but I'm going to speak for myself. There's also many things that black people that we don't know about ourselves. Sometimes we get so caught up and so focused on certain aspects and some of the negativity and some of the bullshit that we have to deal with all the time, that we're not always versed enough in black joy, in black excellence, and all of those things. And that's the perfect segue for something that I'm super excited to talk about. And that was the August 2022 book club selection. I don't have it anywhere near, or I would show it. The August 2022 book club selection for the Reverend Derek's Reverend Derek's online book club was the Madam C.J. Walker biography written by Lilia Bundles. by Amelia Bundles, who is Madam Walker's granddaughter. And it was so dope because I learned so much about Madam Walker in that book. And Sister Bundles, her great great granddaughter, did me a solid by coming on the book club with us virtually and talking about the book and answering questions. And I was almost embarrassed. So I started this segment with the whole idea of Black people not knowing a lot about Black people. And I was almost embarrassed because growing up, I was in Black History Bowls, and like Madam C.J. Walker was a fact that I knew, a factoid. That, who was the first self-made Black female millionaire, or perhaps first self-made female millionaire in the country. And you would say Madam C.J. Walker. And I knew that. And I knew that she did that with creating hair products. I thought that she created the hot comb. I thought that she created like relaxers, which kind of, white people, if you're listening, look up relaxers if you don't know what a relaxer is. It kind of made me feel like, but then to read the book, and that was not the case. She was a hair culturist. She helped Black women to exhibit pride in themselves by taking care of their hair, by actually helping to establish the hygiene routine of regularly washing your hair, combing your hair, moisturizing your hair, greasing your scalp. That I just kind of take for granted that all Black women and Black men that I know, we know how to take care of our hair. And she really helped to propel the education and was a force to be reckoned with. And just, I learned so much about her. And it was really awesome because when you think she founded her company in the early part of the 1900s. And so this is when Black people are really like building institutions, right? So she was born a few years out of slavery. So this is, first group of Black people born out of slavery, or some born into slavery, but the first generation free Black people that are building churches and businesses. And so it was just really dope to read about her and her friendship with Ida B. Wells and her work with Booker T. Washington and W.E.B. Du Bois and Mary McLeod Bethune and all of those movers and shakers of that time that were building the movement. And it was super dope to talk to her great-great-granddaughter, who was just so beautiful and so gracious and so amazing. And I'm going to show you the other exciting thing. I haven't opened it yet because I said I was going to open it on the pod. And that is my Barbie. It was sold out. I mean, they'll make more of them. But it was super dope because the day after the Barbie was announced is the day that Amelia Bundles, the great-great-granddaughter of C.J. Walker, was on my book club, my online book club. So that was kind of dope, and I was excited that she didn't cancel, even though there was lots of media attention. This is a good old unboxing, because I haven't seen it in person. It's all wrapped up. I bought it the day it came out, baby. She's gorgeous. If you're on the pod, you're listening, but you can go to youtube.com/Rev Derek Terry to see. Look at that. So she's gorgeous. She's wearing a very early 1900s outfit. Oh, that's Villa Lawaro in the background. You see that? That's her mansion that she built. Sadly, she didn't even get to live in it a year, I think, before she passed. And the really dope part is, can you see? She's holding one of her tins of Wonderful Hair Grower, or I think it's called Wonderful Hair Grower. Yeah, this is dope. She's stunning. She is sharp. So yeah, I'm super excited about that. And so, like I said, we don't know a lot about ourselves, and that was just a reminder to me to find Black joy and find representation and things like that, it just made me feel proud, and it made me excited to think that someone who was born so impoverished with so many things against her could work her behind off. There's a lot to learn there. Yeah, so I thought that was really, really, really dope. And so speaking of which, speaking of that, there's something else that's going on right now in the name of Black excellence that is so annoying. And white people are big, 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 big mad about a mermaid. They are big mad that the new Little Mermaid is Halle Bailey, the amazingly awesome singer, sister of Chloe. Chloe and Halle, of course, are amazing singers and actresses. And she's the Little Mermaid in the live action version, 33 years after the original. And white people are big mad. I'm not sharing any of the racist memes that I've seen or some of the things that people have said because I try not to saturate the regions in my mind with that type of bull. But it's a lot, and you've probably seen a lot of it. If you haven't, if you want to look for it, go on Twitter, go on the socials, and you'll see it. And more than anything, like when Barack Obama was elected president, it pisses off those who need to be white, is the phrase that Baldwin would use. It pisses off whiteness when it's so used to being centered, to being the standard. So it pisses off whiteness when that is somehow challenged or questioned, because people who need to be white don't want everyone else to feel centered at any time or important at any time. That feels like somehow taking from their rights, because when you have been centered and when you have ran everything and when you haven't had to share that top, any threat to that is upsetting. And to me, diversity is important. To them, it's a threat. So we have to make it normal. We have to piss off the white people. We have to challenge people. We have to understand the importance of representation, of seeing beauty and goofiness and existence and normalcy in faces that aren't just white. And it's important for white people to see other people besides themselves all the time. Like, it took Disney 70 some years to get a black princess, and she was a frog during most of the movie. Like, this can happen. So something happened a couple weeks ago. Went to my hometown for my niece's birthday. She turned 10, and my mother gave her a doll, and the doll was white. And I don't mean like white, it was like white. Like, it was a little white baby. And when my mother pulled it out, it's an expensive doll. And I said, what? What? I almost because like, growing up, my sister she got white dolls. I think most of the dolls she got was black. Like, my father was really big into that. Even the Barbies. Even though he was told, like, the black collectible Barbies, holiday Barbies, were not worth as much as the white one. That wasn't something that stopped that from happening. So when I saw this white doll, I asked my mama, I said, Mama, why did you get her a white one? And she said, well, that's the one she wanted. And immediately I started feeling all these things like, oh my God, I don't see my nieces enough. I'm not helping them to understand and appreciate and value the awesome and amazingness of their blackness. And, I'm just going through all these things. And then I'm like, is this like a bad thing to be feeling? Like, if it was a little white girl and she wanted a black doll, I would think that was dope, right? But that's different because whiteness is everywhere and it is validated and lauded and celebrated all over the place, even if it's oftentimes covert or it's it's not on purpose. It's subconsciously, like, you always see whiteness celebrated. So that's different, right? And I it just really bothered me because I'm like, this is my niece. She's young and she lives in the Midwest, but it's kind of south because it's Kentucky, and I don't want her to have that thought like that. I want this white thing, like, because why? Like, is it somehow better? Like, why is it that you want something that doesn't look like you when something that looks like you is available? Is that somehow a feeling of inadequacy? Is that somehow feeling like the white doll looks better, is better? And so my family, I know, talked to her about that, and evidently, that's still the one she wanted, and it just really broke my heart because I want her to know how amazing and awesome she is in her blackness. Like, because like this whole Little Mermaid thing, like, I know what people are saying and what people are doing and how people are acting. And I know how easy it is to hear that, to see that, and to internalize that. What's wrong with me simply because of the color of my skin. And since Donald Trump's America, people have been way more bold in their declarations of hate and prejudice. And she's a girl. She's a female. And I don't want her to feel inadequate in any way. I don't want her to think that the black doll isn't good enough, that the black girl isn't good enough, that the black mermaid isn't good enough. I just want her to see the possibilities. And at the same time, I want her to know that racism exists. I don't want to shield her from that because that's not realistic. I want them to know, I have 3 nieces, that racism exists and that people are racist, but that the people who are racist are ignorant and dumb and misguided and stupid and backwards. They are the ones who are wrong, not those of us on the receiving end of it. I want her to know that it exists, and I want her to see it, and I want her to call it out whenever it happens in a way that is safe and yet militant. But I also don't want her, pardon me, COVID's coming. I also don't want her to feel that it's a detriment to how she should think about herself, a detriment to her hopes, to her dreams, or to her desires. Yes, it exists, and it will try to take you out at every hand externally and plant thoughts internally. But I want her to acknowledge and rise above and push forward. So, yeah, I don't know what to do with that. So I'm just trying to create positive, you know what I'm saying? And so I know the younger niece wants one for Christmas, and I'm thinking maybe I should buy her the black one. But then, like, does that create this weird social thing where the one with the white one, like, people think they might think that's better than this other? I don't know. So I don't have kids. That brings me when I was talking about, the whole idea of racism and wanting my nieces to acknowledge and know, but to not let that be a detriment to their dreams, or their desires, or their hopes. It brings me to Halle Bailey. Halle, who is the new Little Mermaid comes out in the spring 2023. Her boyfriend goes by his initials of DDG. DDG. Did an interview recently where he said, I want to get this right. He said, quote, I didn't know. No, I don't know if that's how he said it. I didn't know people was this racist. I didn't know this was a thing, he said. I thought this shit was gone already. I thought that shit was gone. I thought Martin Luther King canceled that shit out. This shit is crazy. I was like, what the fuck is these N-words talking about? End quote. So that's been quite the buzz on Black Twitter here lately, is the whole idea that DDG, famous rapper, boyfriend of Holly, who seems to love and support her, awesome. But the brother thought that Martin Luther King killed racism. I thought that shit was gone. I thought Martin Luther King canceled that shit out. That shit's crazy. And so that's what I'm talking about with my nieces. Like, I want them to see, I want them to know, I want them to acknowledge, I want them to call it out. I don't want to shelter them from the reality. Because, you know, with DDG, it feels like has fame, success, his money separated him so much from reality that he doesn't get to see it or experience it. He's in the music industry. It is all up and through that. So why is he so ignorant to it, right? And we all know that fame doesn't mean that you're anti-racist or that you understand the systems of oppression that keep Black and brown people from achieving the same access as their white counterparts. But how can this brother think that Martin Luther King canceled racism? The fact that King was assassinated and killed in 1968 was a racist act. So racism is literally what killed him. And so just to think about mass incarceration and housing discrimination and hell, George Floyd and Tamir Rice and Trayvon Martin and Breonna Taylor and the countless others, and how Obama was treated, hell, Trump's election and all that ushered in. It's like he just found out racism was over last week, and maybe, you know, he wasn't thinking, or maybe it's not what he meant, but it just these are things that, like, they're so much more complicated than, because, you know, there's racism in class, and sometimes we can think that because we've achieved a certain level of success, it is not always conscious, that we don't, like, we're so far away from some of the struggles that we don't understand how racism is at play and all those things, and we may blame it on something else. But 2 things or 3 things or 4 things can be true at the same time. There could be class issues and gender issues and racism as well. It's not, where humans are not just intersectional people. I'm not just gay, Black, Christian pastor, but people can be racist, sexist, misogynist. Like, I digress. So this complication kind of brings me to something else that happened recently. I went to a bookstore, I don't want to give too much information because I ain't trying to call anybody out, because I actually like this place. But went to this place, they sell books, they pride themselves on diversity, and I was super excited because I bought some books, some children's books, right? Hair for Mama and Beatrice's Goats. Evidently, these 2 are kind of old, but I ain't never seen before because I ain't been a child in, well, some of your business, how long it's been. And then Hair Love, I had heard of Hair Love. This is much newer. But I was super excited because I wanted to, as many people know, I've started to learn how to draw since COVID. And I've published a children's book before. I should have brought one to show you. But I had it illustrated by someone else. And I thought, oh, the next one I would like to illustrate myself. And so bought the book, covering up the tag. Because I was like, oh, I can practice drawing. And there's some really beautiful scenes in here, in all of them, honestly. So this is drawn digitally. The others, it's paint situation. Yeah, so, I'm just studying. And so while I was arting, art is a verb. While I was arting, I was like, oh, I wonder about these writers and illustrators. And so I looked them up, and Matthew Cherry and Vashti Harrison. Matthew Cherry wrote this book. Vashti Harrison is the illustrator. Beautiful young black people around my age. So I'm going to call them young, a couple years older than me, but around my age, which was dope. Beatrice's goat, this is straight up like African, right? So I just knew that they were going to be black. No, neither the author nor the illustrator. They were both white women. Same way with Hair for Mama. Both white women. And I did not know how to feel about that. Because it just made me wonder, like, on the one hand, representation is awesome. Like this, I bought these books because this is what I saw. Like when I opened it, I saw familiarity. Like this is a barbershop that I hang out, that I grew up going to. Like when I bought Beatrice Goat, no, that didn't really relate, but I thought it was beautiful, right? So I thought I was buying black art, black creativity. And so it's important, like the representation is important. It's beautiful that I can see these black faces. But to black writers and illustrators get the same access, exposure, and opportunity as their white counterparts. So I kind of felt cheated. What do you think? Was I like wrong for that? If you're listening on the pod, like go to the YouTube. You can see, you can Google, or like just for context, Hair for Mama is a little black boy on the cover wearing the same outfit I would have worn when I was his age. He looks about 9 or 10. He's wearing khaki shorts, maybe cargo, and a polo that's oversized. He's got a big old water head. He's in front of the barber shop, right? Like, see the bricks, you can see the barber pole. Beatrice's goat is a little black girl leaning up against the goat, obviously in Africa is what it looks like. The cover of Hair Love is a black man with locks with his daughter on his back with his big natural fro, and there's so many beautiful pictures inside of her hair in puffs or fro, or he's locking it or not locking it, he's twisting it and styling it, and he's got pins, and it of course this book is much newer than the other two, but as a black person, Hair Love, the illustrations and the story read so much more authentic. That's actually why I ended up Googling what the authors look like, because I was reading one of them. I try to call it. I mean, I'm calling them out softly. I don't think this is passive aggressive because this is all in love, love. But I was reading Hair for Mama, and like the first line, the first sentence, the first paragraph, I read it and I was like, "Is it just didn't read black. It didn't read like authentic, like how we would say it now." Like I said, this book came out 20 years ago, maybe. I don't know. It came out in the early 2000s. So that I looked and I was like, and then I looked at the names and I was like, Google. No, I was right. So that's why I say, like, I felt kind of cheated, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the industry has changed. Me just going into this used bookstore and buying these books, because I have all kinds of children's books. I've been collecting them over the last few months, and they're mostly, all of them are by Black people, but like I knew they were Black when I bought them. There was something else. These books, there was no picture of the author, no picture of the illustrator, and I wondered, like, is that on purpose? Like, so, because would I have bought them if they were written and illustrated by a white woman, by white women? God, these are the regions. This is the region in my mind. Like, this is hard stuff. And so, what do you think? Like, and I plan on talking to some friends and being like, what do you think about this? I have friends that are teachers, and I have friends that are writers that write children's books, and maybe I'll get one or two of them to come on and talk about these things, because it just goes back to that whole idea of representation. Like, representation is important, right? Like, to see the Black boy standing in front of the barbershop, his hands in his pocket, hair for mama, and then that even made me question the hair for mama. I don't know. It's just like were any Black people consulted in the writing of this? So like, it's not just about representation, it's about authenticity as well, because I can't tell you how many times I've seen something that was supposed to be for me, Black people, and I'm watching it or I'm reading it and I'm like, this is so not Black. Like, I don't think any Black people were consulted. And I'm reading a lot of like Black sitcoms that I grew up with in the writer's room, and how that looked, and how actors and we're fighting because sometimes it was so white, and what they were trying to do wasn't authentic, and they knew that the audience wouldn't like it. And so, hard stuff. Hard stuff. So yeah, what do you think? Please hit me up on the socials. Let me know. One other thing I wanted to talk about in this same vein of books and media as it relates to the Little Mermaid. Jeffrey Dahmer. There's a new Jeffrey Dahmer limited series. It's a drama series on Netflix starring Evan Peters, who's on American Horror Stories, who just plays creepy really well. And it's getting lots and lots and lots of buzz. And I may devote a show to this. I don't know. But I watched it rather quickly, in like 2 or 3 days. And it was hard, especially being a Black queer man. I remember when Jeffrey Dahmer, I was really, really, really little. And the joke was just always, he's, he eats people and he kills them. He was a serial killer. I did not know that most of them were Black queer men. And as if the early 90s with the AIDS epidemic was not scary enough for Black queer men, and the way that Black and gay people were treated wasn't bad enough. He was literally hunting and killing them. And so to watch it was intriguing. I will admit that I like dark stuff. And I enjoyed, I don't know if enjoyed's the word. I was glued because I wanted to know what happened. And it was hard. It was hard to see those black gay men endure that. I was glad, of course, when it was over, but it was intriguing. There was something that happened that really boiled my Ovaltine. It really upset me, but it made sense because this happens a lot, and there was I wanna no spoilers. This won't spoil anything. But there was a black male model in the series with a photographer, and the photographer basically tells him, "Oh, I've never seen such beautiful chocolate skin. I want to lick it." And that bothered me because that's exactly what so many white gay men do, how they objectify black men. Like, as a black man, I've black people rarely comment on the color of other black people in flirtatious or sexual manners. "Oh, I'm going to lick your brown skin," or "your chocolate skin." I mean, I'm sure it happens, but it's not the norm, right? Whereas I feel like when white men slide in my DMs or have something to say, it's there's always some reference to black or chocolate or brown. Well, I shouldn't say always. The majority of the time, the vast majority of the time. And it could be as vulgar as that big black C. And that's another thing. Black men do not like the C word. Rhymes with doc and sock. Or, I love black men, or you're so hot, chocolate skin. It's like, ugh. And so I thought it was important for the movie because the fact that he found so many of these men attractive, I mean, in my research, he would say that he didn't go after these men because they were black and, queer, but that just happened to be the hottest people around. That just means he was extremely attracted to them. But there's an objectification of black men in the LGBT community. Not just black men, black women, black trans women, blackness. That's really creepy. And so it's parenthetical. I don't want to spoil the show, but I might spoil it later one day when I do an episode. But yeah, what do you think? Did you watch it? It was a lot, baby. It was a lot. I do want to say Niecy Nash, who acts in it. She plays the neighbor, Jeffrey Dahmer. She's amazing. She is amazing. I always got to end it with positivity. Since we're talking about movies and that kind of stuff. Shirley Ralph won an Emmy, and Quinta won an Emmy for Abbott Elementary, and I'm just super, super, super excited for them. Shirley Ralph never even won an NAACP award out of all the stuff she's done, and if you black, I thought they just gave you one of them. So the fact that she got her flowers, that people voted for her, she got her Emmy, she gave an amazing speech. She looked good. Mother was 60 years old, showing thigh meat. I was super excited about that. I think this is a good stop before I keep going. Thank you for checking out A Region in My Mind. Before we go, I am a creative. I love to create. For a long time, I didn't, because of my queerness and trying to check that and trying not to be myself and trying to be what the big, 6'4.5", 250 plus pound black man was supposed to be. But I am embracing all of me, and part of that is my creativity and being cool with that. So like I said earlier, I've been learning to draw since the panty, and I just want to show you a couple of things. I want to show you one of my favorite drawings that I've done recently, and that is the Strawberry Queen dancing, doing the dab with a unicorn disco ball. So it's a strawberry in the vein of, remember the California Raisins that used to perform? That was my inspiration. And it's a strawberry wearing a crown. There's a disco ball. There's the unicorn with all the colors. The strawberry I drew with soft colored pencils. The unicorn with Copic markers. Just a way expensive marker. But anyway, I have some copies. Like, this is just a copy, right? I gave the original to someone who's awesome, young lady that I know. But if you want a copy, I made some copies. Let me know, and I'll just put one in the mail to you free of charge, because I just think it's dope. Something else I want to show that I'm working on right now is this beautiful little black girl. I kind of messed her up. It's a little black girl wearing a cape. She's looking up to the Lord, and she's got her hands on her hips, and she's got afro puffs. I'm working on her. This is like my sketchbook. That's the rough sketchbook. So, this is rough. And I'm not coloring her or anything. I was just making the outline to see where she goes on the paper and to kind of practice. And like, I know, I need to change this arm. I need to do this. I need to do that. And I kind of messed her up because I did it in pencil first and then went over it in ink. And when I was erasing the pencil, I didn't let the ink dry. So I should have just waited till the next day. But I was in a hurry to see what she would look like. And in the process, I messed her up. But, this is a practice book. So it is what it is. Also, some of my art I've put on stickers, which is so dope. So I did this little black mermaid girl, and I have her on, she's on a hologram. So she's kind of cool. And then I did some digital drawings of Ricky and Pray Tell from Pose and Men on Film stickers. I also did a pen of the Little Mermaid. So yeah, you can check these out on most of it is on DerekTerry.com, where we'll be on October 1st. Last but not least is I did this drawing too. Many people know I'm a chemist by trade. That's what I went to school for. I thought I wanted to be a doctor. Ended up becoming a preacher. Make so much more money, right? But I still like to mix stuff. So these candles are natural soy candles. Can you smell it? Can you smell it? Can you smell it? Natural soy candles with premium wooden wicks, so it makes a really nice crackling sound, and they burn for 40 hours on average. This is a really light scent. It's not for a huge room. I call it smoky vanilla, and the line is called Baldwin's Basement, in honor of the amazing James Baldwin. One of my sketch of him is on the candle. It's a 12-ounce candle, and I called it Baldwin's Basement because I was like, what if me and James were just like chilling in his basement? Like, what would it smell like? Like, oh, it might smell like, some old wood, like, cedar. Might smell a little smoky, get the smoky vanilla, because, if you've looked at a picture of James Baldwin, it's hard to find one of him without a cigarette. It doesn't smell like cigarettes, but, I want a little smokiness going on. He might have fresh flowers. What might that smell like? Oh, he might have a big leather seat. So there's like, a little sense like if Harlem of that era in Baldwin's basement while we sitting around, One of them is like bourbon inspired. We're sitting around, we're sipping, we're snacking, we're pontificating, we're talking. We're in Baldwin's basement. So those will be on the website as well, just in time for the holidays. Thank you all so much for chilling with me in this region in my mind. Thank you so much to my patrons. Patreon.com/Race Rage and Fear is how you can support the work. And of course, visit Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok at Rev Derek Terry, DerekTerry.com, RevDerek.com. Take care. God bless. Love you all. Peace.